Hey, hello everyone. Are we live? We
Yep.
are. Okay, let's let Instagram load up. Brilliant. Hello everyone. Welcome back to yet another Friday lunchtime live with us, Target Transfers. We are going to be talking to you today all about how to handle your last minute Christmas orders or just last minute orders in general. So for those of you who don't know who we are Target Transfers. We are the UK's leading custom heat transfer manufacturer. And we're also the UK home of Hotronics, which is all of these wonderful heat presses that you can see behind me, as well as the UK home for Styles, which is obviously the world's leading heat transfer vinyl. So all businesses are going to be familiar, all business owners, you'll all know that sometimes you get those orders fall into your inbox slightly later than what is ideal for you as a business owner, particularly at this time of year. So approaching Christmas, you might want to have some time off with your friends and family rather than rushing around right up until Christmas Eve. So today we're going to talk to you about exactly how you can quickly turn around those very, very last minute orders without lacking on quality and your brand reputation and those sorts of things. So stay with us if you are interested in that. But before we get started, where is everybody watching from? We want to know who's joining us today. So drop a comment below. Andy's monitoring all of the comments, so he'll be sort of replying to you and he can shout out questions to me as we go. So we'll answer all of your questions throughout this video. So before we get started, I just want to touch on what a heat transfer actually is. We've had quite a few new followers on our Instagram lately, so hello to everyone that's joining us for the first time. And for anybody that stumbles across this video and wants to know a bit more about heat printing and what it is we do. So a heat transfer, essentially, for those of you watching, here's an example. It's basically your design printed onto a carrier sheet, a piece of paper, essentially, which you then put onto garments such as t-shirts, sweatshirts. I'm wearing one today for our podcast. So it's really, really easy. It's one of the quickest and easiest ways to put your designs onto garments. Something we'll cover in today's video is the quick turnaround time, the ease of application, and most importantly, the quality and the finished product. So it's just a little introduction for anyone that's new to Target Transfers or new to heat printing in general. That is what a heat transfer is. So yeah, today we're going to run through exactly how you can handle all of those last minute orders whilst maintaining that high quality product level and keeping, if not improving, your brand's reputation, which is what's important after all for getting future business, maintaining customers, that sort of thing. So before we jump in, I'm just going to cover quickly our different options for heat transfers this year. So if you've joined us on a live before, you'll be very aware that we've introduced some new shimmer colours for our transfer range this year. So last year we had a few like Grinch greens and a few different colours, but we've gone very traditional this year and we've introduced a red and a green. So these are shimmer screen print transfers. And these are available to add to your orders free of charge on EasyView. So all you have to do when you're in the uploader is select the Christmas colour palette, select your shimmer inks, and we'll print your designs with these inks as well. So just another way that you can add value to your customers and there's no extra time or cost involved. Okay, so do we have any questions before I keep going?
That'd be okay for now.
No? Okay, perfect. So getting started. So getting started with the actual transfer product, we're going to be talking about obviously custom heat transfers because there's no weeding involved whatsoever with these transfers. As you can see from the example I just had. Oh, where's it gone? Here we go. There is absolutely no weeding. So if you look at that, that is ready to be applied to your garment. You don't have to get any of the excess away with that. With vinyl, you do. So you have to cut your design out. You have to then pull away the excess vinyl that you don't want applied to the garment. And then you have to fuse it. So it's a longer production process to get the garment ready to be sent to the customer, which there's nothing wrong with. And there are many, many benefits to using vinyl, of which if you're interested in learning more about vinyl, do come along to our Vinyl Summit, which is happening on the 7th of December. So just under 2 weeks to go, isn't it? Yeah, just under 2 weeks. Tickets are free for that. So if you want to hear more about vinyl, definitely head on over to that. All tickets are available to get for free on our website. So just head on over to targettransfers.com/events for that one. So transfers can be ordered online and arrive like this, ready to be printed. So I'll show you an example of a gang sheet. So this is obviously not Christmas designs, but this is an example of how your transfers would arrive in the post. This is an UltraColour Max sheet, which we'll get into a bit later in the live. But obviously they come ready to be printed. So all you have to do is cut the design out that you want if you're using gang sheets, which you all should be. And then you apply it to the garment. So really, really simple, really, really easy, and there's no weeding involved. So that cuts production time down straight away. So if you get somebody who wants a personalised item or 5, 10, 20 sweatshirts, you don't have to do any weeding at all with this, which cuts so much time off of your production time. So the second area to save time when it comes to ordering heat transfers is the actual ordering process. Now, for those of you that have ordered transfers with us before, will be familiar with our EasyView Uploader online ordering system. For those of you that haven't, basically EasyView is, if you've ordered a card off of Moonpig before or something along those lines, it's very, very similar in terms that you just upload your artwork into the system, choose the size, the colour, the quantity, all of those good things, and then you just click order and it comes straight through to us here in Braintree in Essex, and we print them all here on site and then ship them out to you. So the beauty of doing it like this is that Target Transfers have the quickest turnaround time in the UK. So you can order them and they'll be with you within 2 working days, which is insane for transfer ordering. It's just the quickest process to do entirely. And the good thing is with EasyView is that you can order it whenever you want, wherever you are. So there's no need to be phoning us and emailing us about your order. You can just go straight onto the website, upload your artwork and order it within a matter of minutes. And then it goes straight to print and shipped straight to you. So that again cuts so much time off of the entire process. There's no need, like I said, to be emailing people with artwork back and forth or phoning up and checking on things. It's just as simple as ordering it online, which is fantastic. So we're going to be moving on in a second to the different types of heat transfers, but I'm just going to quickly recap what we're doing for everybody who's just joined on Instagram and YouTube. So hello, if you've just joined, we're talking about how to handle last minute orders, especially around this time of year at Christmas. So if you're a heat printer or you're a small business owner and you want to know how to handle the orders that fall into your inbox really, really last minute and at the not ideal times, then stay tuned. So different transfer types. Now we have a variety of options here at Target. We have 3 different transfer types depending on what you're doing. The first option is our UltraColour Max DTF Transfers, which are these ones, which was the big gang sheet I showed you a second ago. They can be ordered at a minimum quantity of just 1. So there's absolutely no reason why you can't get started with these. All you have to do is upload your designs, like I said, into EasyView, upload, order your 1 sheet and you're done. The 2-day turnaround time on that is the same, whether you order any of the different types of transfers, which is great. And UltraColour Max, because you only have to order 1 sheet, it means that it's really good for either short run orders. So if you get a last minute order, for example, that's only for between 5 and 10 shirts, you might not necessarily need 10 or 20 sheets of the same transfer. With UltraColour Max, you can just gang all of your designs up onto 1 sheet, order that 1 sheet and have the order out the door within a matter of days. It's also very good for personalisation. So you can see here, this has got a name on the transfer design. So if you were ordering a different type of heat transfer, aka screen or UltraColour, they have minimum orders of 10 sheets. So the designs all have to be the same, but you can add multiple designs to the gang sheet. The only downside of this when you're looking at personalisation is that you will then have 10 of the same name across all of the sheets, which if you get a smaller order or lots of different names, for example, that's not very ideal and it's not very cost effective. So what we encourage you to do is if you're having personalised orders for Christmas and you don't have time to weed them with vinyl, which is historically what a lot of people have done in the past, just order 1 UltraColour Max sheet, really, really simple, really, really easy, and they will arrive. You can just cut, fuse. We're going to fuse one in a second so you can see, and you're done. That's pretty much it. The other option, if you have a slightly larger order, which I know quite a lot of you will have, you can still order screen and UltraColour transfers on the 2-day turnaround. Every single transfer that we produce goes out within 2 days. So if you need to order a larger quantity, for example, you can order screen print, which is this one here with the shimmer inks. This is best for designs with between 1 and 5 single block colours. So you can see the difference between this one here, which has just got 3 different colours on it, versus an UltraColour heat transfer, which has got photorealistic finishes on there. You can see there in the Santa hat, it's got gradient colours. There's lots of different colours and tones going on there. This is UltraColour. This is for full colour designs, lots of gradients, 5 or more colours. There's probably about 100 different colours in there by the time you count up all of the gradients. So really, really good value. But these are the 2 different types if you're ordering on mass. So the minimum order for these is 10 sheets, and the biggest size they come in is A3. And of course, we recommend you to order more than 1 transfer on your sheet. And this is what a gang sheet is. So for those of you that haven't ordered transfers before, essentially a gang sheet is where you put more than 1 design on an A3 sheet, such as this, or this. Now, obviously, you can move the designs around as you please. You can have different sizes, all of that sort of thing. But it just means that you can get maximum value. So, for example, on this one, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're quite big designs. Like we've seen people put up to 50, 60 designs on an A3 gang sheet before if they're sized strategically. So definitely recommend those. And the good thing, like I said previously, about this is no matter the size of your order, I mean, if it's like 10,000 sheets, obviously give us a heads up. But in general, we can do pretty big orders still within the 2-day turnaround. So whether your last minute order is 10 t-shirts or 100, you don't have to worry. You don't have to spend ages weeding all the designs. You don't have to spend ages cutting them. You can literally just go online, order your designs. They'll be with you in a couple of days. You can fuse them in a matter of seconds, which is what we're going to do in a second. And you've got a really high quality, long lasting product that's out the door within 2 to 3 days, depending on how quickly you print them and ship them to the customer. Okay, so should we move on to fusing? Do we have any questions in the meantime?
A couple of questions, yeah.
Okay.
Someone would like to know what file type can they use?
For transfers, okay, so we recommend either using EPS files are probably the best ones to send us. Would you agree?
Yeah.
And then we also accept PNGs, JPEGs, SVGs, all of those types of files. But if you are unsure on what file type to use, then head on over to EasyView and go onto the artwork guide, and you can see the different file types for the different transfer options. And it's also on the how to order page, I believe. So if you're ever stuck on anything, just head to the FAQ section and all the information will be on there.
And we've just got another question about how much the different transfer types cost.
Okay, so So the UltraColour Max sheet, which we were talking about, this is the minimum order of 1. This is 55 by 55 centimetre gang sheet. This is £29 for 1 sheet. And as I said, you can add as many different designs on here as you want. We've had people get cost per transfers on this down to pence. So if you're smart about it, as you can see, we've got some neck labels on here as well. So this one is £29. And then the UltraColour Max and the screen printed heat transfers, which are A3, they are priced based on your order. So depending on how many colours is in your order for screen, for example, depending on the size. So we have 8 different sizes available, A3, A4, A5, etc. So that's all based on how many you order, what size you order. But I believe the cheapest we've got it down to is sort of 6p per transfer for screen print. So again, depending on how many you're ordering, those prices really do drop quite quickly. And again, gang sheets really help with bringing the price of transfers down as well. So I'd recommend you doing that.
Yeah, even the minimum order of a set of 10 gang sheets is only going to be £59.70.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. So that's, again, not that big of a cost, especially if that order is, say, 10 sheets and you're getting 40 or 50. That's quite small, actually, for gang sheets, 4 or 5 designs per sheet. But you can get a lot of profit back from that. So quite low costing, and again, for the time span, really, really good. Is that everything? Do we have any on Instagram at the moment? Or
no, just some nice feedback about some help our studio gave one of the customers yesterday.
Oh, that's good.
Helped them get through, so they were the best in the industry, and they've been using the A3 and get some really good price savings on that.
Good, that's fantastic to hear. See, we've got proof of our customers actually doing and profiting from all of these products that we're talking about. So that's great. Okay, next we're going to move on to the fusing element. So far we've covered that by using transfers instead of heat transfer vinyl, you can eliminate the cutting and the weeding time out of the production process, which when you're trying to cut your time in half, or if not more, for getting those last minute orders out the door, this is a significant piece of time that you can just eliminate from the process. And then we've also covered how quick it is to order them and the turnaround time. So order online, anywhere you are, whenever you are, and they'll be with you within 2 working days. So now on to the actual fusing. So again, this is another part of the process in terms of saving time. And this isn't necessarily just at Christmas and just for last minute orders, although it does help a lot. This also is in general for the entire year. So if you can cut your production time down, even by sort of 10%, you're saving significant amount of time per week, per month, per year, which means you can produce more products, which means you can grow your business, make more money, etc. We did do a very, very good production productivity hack video a few months ago, which I'm sure we'll drop either a link in the description, or if you just search for productivity on our YouTube channel, where Andy went through all of the different time-saving things that you can do throughout your production process, accessories you can use, techniques, etc., for saving time. And we saved up to 55 working days a year. So that's a really significant time saving. So now onto fusing. I'm going to do all of these just onto a t-shirt today. If you want to know more about different products you could produce at Christmas, we did do a separate live video on that where we went through sort of stockings, sacks, matching pajamas, Christmas jumpers, all of those things. So you can go on and check that out. So I'm just going to thread my garment onto the heat press and give it a pre-press. We're using the auto open today for those of you that don't or aren't familiar with the different heat presses. So what this means is that when obviously we clamp it down, we don't have to wait for us to come over and open the press. When it's finished its fuse, it will automatically open for us, which is very handy. Another reason to do a pre-press, which I've just demonstrated on live video, is that sometimes the pressure is wrong. So you have to adjust that as and when that's still not right. So we're just using the dial on the top of the heat press, taking it down a couple of turns, and this will adjust the pressure of the press. Oh, now that's on an 8, that's too high. So on a Hotronics press, the ideal pressure is between a 4 and a 6, and that's medium pressure. So now that's on 5. Perfect, brilliant. Okay, that's definitely pre-pressing for the entire time, so we'll go with that. Great. So the reason that we do a pre-press, is because we want to eliminate any creases, any marks, and any moisture from the garment. So if this t-shirt had just been sat in a box or had come from your supplier's warehouse, or just been sat in a box on the floor somewhere, you don't know if there's any moisture in there. There might be creases on the garment. And you just want to make sure to remove all of those so that when you place your transfer onto the t-shirt, it's completely primed and ready for a really, really accurate application. So I'm just going to take my DTF heat transfer now and pop it straight in the middle. Going to use my release paper just to protect the transfer, the garment, and the press. Release paper is more importantly used when you're using screen and UltraColour transfers because they're cold peels, and you don't want when the press comes up for it to be pulling the carrier off before it's ready. UltraColour Max transfers are a hot peel, as I'm going to demonstrate now. That was really quick and easy. So it doesn't matter so much if you don't use the release paper, but we always find it best practice to just get into the habit anyway. And there you have it. Transfer onto a t-shirt. This design actually looks quite good on a t-shirt. I think this is meant to be for a Santa sack, but I quite like it. There we go for all of you on Instagram as well. So yeah, and I'll come up close as well so you can see the patterns. So you've got some really, really nice sort of Christmas designs here. There we go for everyone on Instagram. So how quick and how easy was that? We've just put a custom, personalized, may I add, there's a name in there as well, transfer onto a t-shirt, and that took 12 seconds. 145 degrees, heat press, transfers were turned around in 2 days. that could not be quicker and could not be easier. And for the amount of detail that you've got in there, not even to mention the colours that you couldn't achieve with vinyl, but the detail that you've got in here, all of the gaps that would have to be weeded, that would take such a long time if you were doing that with vinyl, but that looks absolutely fantastic. So we'll do another couple just to show you, for those of you that have just joined, and a couple of different design options as well. So just to run through the process again, threading the garment onto the press. Now, the good thing about the Hotronics Auto Open, you can see this quite well on the live actually, we've got this on a caddy stand, which means that the entire underneath of the press is threadable. So rather than taking your t-shirt and just going like that and fusing onto both sides of the garment, which isn't really ideal, we're going to split the t-shirt in the middle, so as if you were putting it on essentially, and pull it completely underneath the heat press like so. So you can see we're only fusing onto this layer of the t-shirt and the rest of it is hanging underneath. Now we're only applying heat to the area of the garment that we want to apply the transfer to. 5-second pre-press, and the machine will pop up when it's done. So I could go off and take a business phone call or get my next garment or anything like that. Grab my next transfer is what I'm going to do. Here we go. So this one isn't as much of a Christmas design. We've gone for a little bit of leopard here. Nico's first Christmas. So now that our garment is pre-pressed, it's all ready to have the transfer applied. Pop it exactly where we want it. Best practice, as always, to use release paper. Pop that on top and fuse for 12 seconds. The other great thing about the Auto Open heat press is that it has 2 timers. It's got dual timers on it. So when you're doing the pre-press, for example, you don't have to keep changing the timer on the press to count down from 5 seconds and then change it to 12 every time you want to do an application. There we go, peeled straight away, nice and easy. Pull this off and show you. See, no cheating, that was completely peeled hot. And there's your second, oh, that's a great angle. There's your second t-shirt, perfect, there we go. Lovely, so we've done 2 today already. And as I say, that took me longer because I was talking you through it. And the release paper's fallen on the floor. Great. But I was saying the dual timers. So on the Hotronics press, you have got 2 timers. So you can set your pre-press. You probably can't see this in the live video. You can set your pre-press by pressing the mode button in the middle, and then you set your actual fuse temperature. So you can pull it down, and it will do the 5-second pre-press, like so. And then when you do it again, without changing the timer, it counts from 12. So it means you can just do garment after garment without having to keep changing the settings. Also, while we're on the topic of the actual control panel, there's a pressure readout here, which is really, really helpful when it comes to knowing the pressure of your press. Now, if you've got a max clam heat press, you'll know that you have to judge the pressure by how many fingers you pull the press down with. And how it feels, whereas on the Auto Open, you've got the certainty of knowing what the actual number is, which I personally prefer. This is one of my favorite heat presses for that exact reason. So like I said, medium pressure on Hotronics press is between a 4 and a 6, and that's pretty much all you need to do. You just turn this knob in the middle, half a turn or quarter a turn if you're adjusting pressure.
A quarter turn each time. Just
a quarter, yeah. So it doesn't take much at all. You don't want to be twisting it like 2 or 3 whole turns to adjust one number. It's like Andy said, a quarter turn, and you'll probably change from like a 4 to a 5 or a 6, just like that. And then obviously, yeah, you've got the Auto Open feature. So one of my favorite heat presses, and it's great, especially when you're doing last minute orders, that you don't have to wait for it or you don't have to come back to open it every time. If you've got last minute orders to do, you don't necessarily have to rush with custom heat transfers, but at the same time, you want to be, you know, picking up the pace a bit. So you might put a garment on, be peeling the next one or prepping something else and not having to worry about the press not opening and scorching and wrecking garments. So you're pretty much guaranteed high quality outcomes straight away with this press. Do we have any other questions in the meantime?
Yes, we've got another question. We'd like to know more about the stand it's on. Which stand is that?
So you can see this better on Instagram than you can on Facebook, but essentially the caddy stand has got 4 feet at the bottom and they're all on wheels. and it's height adjustable as well. So the good thing about this is that you can wheel it anywhere you want throughout your workshop. So for today's live, this press was over the other side of the room, and I just quickly pulled it on over in front of the cameras for you. And then the other great thing is that not only does it add the threadability feature to the auto open press, and this is the same with the Max clam as well. If you have a Max or an Auto, the caddy stands make them threadable, but it's height adjustable. So the little lever here, which I don't know if you can see where I'm pointing to, you can adjust that based on who's using the press. So obviously, if you're printing a lot of garments throughout the day, you want to make sure that the user isn't uncomfortable or getting sort of any sort of aches and pains. If you're having to reach too high to pull the press down, that's obviously not good. If it's too low, you might not be able to place things accurately. So you can move it up and down based on who's using it. And obviously the threadability is one of the main ones. Have I missed anything on the caddy stand, Andy?
No, I'd say the threadability is probably the number one for me personally. I really enjoy that part of it. Yeah,
it makes everything a lot easier. And then while we're on threadability, efficiency, application, all of those things, I just want to mention the quick slip covers. We posted a reel about these yesterday. We've had quite a lot of questions about them. So essentially, this cover goes over the bottom platen of your heat press like so, and it just makes it really easy to slide garments on and off of it. So if you're putting a t-shirt on, for example, it slips on and off so easily, versus the underneath of the platen, which is still really, really good quality, but it's a bit more rubbery. So the garment sticks a little bit when you put it on, and there's a slight risk, depending on how sensitive your t-shirt or sweatshirt is, that it could stretch or pull it slightly. So we find that by having the quick slip protector, it makes the actual application or the loading process of the garment easier and quicker. It also protects the lower heat press platen, which is, at the end of the day, very important, because it means that depending on how much you're using your press, which I'm hoping is a lot, you won't have to replace the lower platens, and they last for years anyway. But when you're putting transfers and you're pre-pressing the moisture out, and then you're putting transfers and inks and garments and everything, the residue of garments and transfers will eventually start to come onto the platens, especially if you're fusing onto like black sweatshirts. There'll be fluff that will stick to the bottom of the platen, and then you go to put a white t-shirt on and it could come off on that. So it just saves an awful lot of time when it comes to things like that. And also the efficiency side of things, I think it worked out 11 seconds per garment when we did the productivity video, which was 7.5 working days per year if you printed around, say, 100 shirts per day. So again, significant time savings, all for just having this little bit of, it's not even plastic. What's it made from?
Magic.
There we go. It's made from magic. So just from having this little cover on the bottom of your platen, you get all of those benefits. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer, really. And we do have them for multiple sizes. It's not just the 40 by 50. We have it for the 40 by 40, the 28 by 38, and a few others as well. So, yeah, take a look at those on the website because they're very, very useful. And I think the next thing that I wanted to talk about was the actual quality of the transfers. So do we have any more questions on application or presses before we move on?
I just had one question. Someone's asking which size of heat press I recommend. Because if anyone that's new, we have 3 different sizes in the auto open press.
Okay, which size? Okay, so for heat press sizing, we would always recommend basing it off of the biggest print you're going to be manufacturing or printing. So, for example, if you want to do big front prints or big back prints onto t-shirts and garments, you are going to want to make sure that the top of the platen, which is the heated section, can heat apply that transfer to the t-shirt. So obviously, if you had a t-shirt like this, let's pretend there wasn't already a transfer on there, and you wanted to put an A3 design on there that's slightly bigger than A3, but that's a very, very big print. Obviously, if you had a 28 by 38 heat press platen, that would not cover the heat application of the entire t-shirt, if that makes sense. You want to be able to put the entire size of the transfer under the press and it not come off any of the corners so that it's all applied correctly. So majority of people do go for the 40 by 50, which is this one that I'm using today. This is the biggest size that we offer, and you can interchange the lower platens as well. So you can add smaller versions of this platen on. So one of the biggest things that people say to us is, oh, I can't isolate the print area because I want to do, I don't know, children's t-shirts or something a bit smaller. And if you want to know about accurate application, we have lots and lots of videos explaining all of this really in depth. But just as a quick quick base overview, sorry, you want to make sure when you're fusing that the surface area that you're fusing onto is completely flat. There's no seams or zips or pockets on the press platen. You want to make sure they're all off of the edge so that when that press comes down, it's completely flat underneath for the transfer to fuse properly. Now, obviously, if you've got a massive platen like this one, and you've got a polo shirt, for example, it's going to be very difficult to isolate that area without having the buttons under the press. So we have smaller platens that you can take this off and put the other one on, and then you can just put that polo shirt or whichever garment you're fusing onto and isolate that print area really specifically. So that's another reason that I would choose the 40 by 50. And it also means that you don't have to change presses in a few years' time. So these presses are built to last the lifetime of your business. If there's a lifetime warranty on, is it the heating element, 5-year on the framework? So they are built to last. And if you go for a slightly smaller press to save a few £100, or because you don't know if you've got the room for it, things like that, in 6 months, a year, 2 years' time, you're probably going to want the bigger one and you're going to regret not buying it in the first place. And in terms of costings, there's not really that much in it when you work out how many t-shirts you have to actually sell to pay off this press. I believe the 40 by 50 auto open payoff was around 110 t-shirts roughly. The price breakdown is on the product page on our website if you want to have a look at that in more detail. But that's not that many shirts to sell in a year to pay off this entire heat press. So if you're thinking about sizing, I'd always recommend going to the bigger end and getting the smaller, lower platens than I would going smaller and then having to buy another one later down the line, if that makes sense for everyone.
Yeah. We've just got a question as well from Instagram. Someone would like to know if we do heat printing and embroidery. Okay, so embroidery, no, but if you get in touch, I'm sure our customer service team have good recommendations of who can cover that for you. And then in terms of heat printing, yes, we do, but we don't do the actual printing itself. So I'll just demonstrate for this user. Hello, whoever you are. I'll just show you exactly what we do. So here is, let's pretend that's not on there. Here's a blank one. We use this instead. Here is a t-shirt. It has nothing on it. This is, for example, what will be sitting in your warehouse, essentially. So we would provide you with the heat press. So we supply these, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video. We are the UK home for Styles Hottronics. So that's all of these fantastic heat presses, which you can see around me. So this is, as I said, the auto open. So what we would do is you would buy the heat press from us. You would buy the t-shirts from Rallowise. There's a lot of different brands that Rallowise sell, so you can just go on there and pick whichever ones you want. You would then send your artwork to us here at Target, and we would print that into a heat transfer. So for example, you send us your design and we put it onto a piece of paper like this. And then all you have to do once we send you your designs in transfer form is pop them under the heat press. This one's a little bit tight. I've got it caught. Doing this one-handed as well. So you would pop your t-shirt under your Hottronics press, pre-press it, take your Target Transfers printed transfer, put it on your shirt. Let's just rescue the release paper from the floor. Pop it on there. Fuse for 12 seconds. So rather than printing your transfers yourself or doing like screen print in-house and things like that, we've just simplified the process and made it so much quicker, easier, cleaner, all of those things. You pull the carrier off, so it's completely clean, there's nothing on there. It's all on the t-shirt, and that is your printed t-shirt. So to summarize, we will provide you with the heat press. We will sell you these. We've got all the accessories to go with it. We will manufacture your heat transfers, and then all you have to do is get blank garments and apply them in your workshop, spare room, bedroom, wherever you do it. Does that answer the question? Perfect. Okay. Do we have any more? That's it for now.
Cool. Okay. So the final thing I want to talk about before we go for today is the quality of these heat transfers. Now, looping back round to the initial reason for this live is how to handle last minute orders. Just because you are doing orders last minute or you're trying to turn them around slightly quicker than usual, that does not mean that you should compromise on the quality or longevity of your products, because whether somebody orders something in the middle of the year when you've got all the time in the world, or whether they order something 2 days before Christmas and you just want to get it done and out the door and not think about it, they're still buying a product from your printing company, and they are still going to expect the same level of quality no matter when they order. So the great thing is about these heat transfers is that they are the best quality in the world. I mean, I'm biased, but you know, it's been proven, so I can say that. So as you can see, I'll do this on 2 cameras because this is quite tricky, but that is the softest, thinnest. I mean, you can see that in the 4K camera. That just looks so good. And for Instagram as well, look how thin that finish is. It's barely like it's even on the garment. So the full colour aspect as well is something that you don't need to compromise on. So for UltraColour, you can have gradients, you can have photorealistic, you can have as many colours as you want. Screen print, you can either do plain black or white, you can do shimmer inks, you can do neon inks, you could do the Christmas palette. There's so many things to add in, but the good part is that the quality of them is 100% reliable, and they last 60+ washes as well. So your transfers will start to the garment, will start to deteriorate before the transfer starts to come off at all. Like that's on there for life now. So another bonus is obviously we're talking quality wise. The wash quality and longevity, this is all guaranteed if they're applied correctly. Now, we do send out application instructions with every single transfer order. There's 1,000,001 different videos, blog posts, instructions on our website, on our socials for how to apply transfers. But essentially, for those of you that are new, or maybe you've been printing for ages and you just need us to remind you, the 3 main things to focus on when actually fusing with a heat press is time, temperature, and pressure. So time is obviously the amount of time you're fusing your transfer onto the garment for. So as we demonstrated today with UltraColour Max, we fused for 12 seconds. 5-second pre-press with just the garment, no transfer, and then once the transfer was put on top of the t-shirt, that was 12 seconds. For UltraColour, it's 12 seconds, and for screen print, it's 10. You do not need to do any more than that. You do not need to do a second press. That's all taken care of in the 12 seconds. Time at temperature is another, so you do not need to be applying these transfers at a much higher temperature. They don't need to be applied anything above what they should be to stick. The reason that we have these recipes is because they work. It's been proven, they've been wash tested, and we've got hundreds of customers using them every day and they absolutely love them. So time, temperature, and pressure being another one. So as I was talking about earlier, you want to make sure that you have a completely flat surface area when you're putting your garment on. So that not only comes down to the threadability aspect, so obviously you don't just want to take your garment and put it on like this, you want to make sure you're opening it and threading it onto this heat press properly. And then also comes to seams and zips and things like that. You want to make sure they're all off the platen. So if I was, for example, fusing this t-shirt, I wouldn't fuse it like this because I'm then going to have all of the seams in the neckline. And that is not a completely flat surface area. I'm going to want to make sure that they hang off of the platen so that the area I'm actually pressing is just the area I want to be fusing onto. This is a big one, and it's one that we see, it's the most common mistake when people have issues with transfers, would you say? The pressure is normally the one that gets people. If it's something really, really slight, like a seam, that can affect the pressure. Another thing to think about as well is the actual heat press you're using. So the pressure of Hotronics is very accurate, it's very reliable. When the press comes down, it comes down completely flat from back to front, whereas on a lot of cheaper presses, for example, they come down at the back first and then the front. So one side of the garment is getting more pressure than the other. And then when we're talking about temperature and things like that, Hotronics' upper platen, so obviously the top part, the heated part, has like an S shape heated going throughout the middle. So there are no cold spots across any of the top of the press. When you pull it down, you can be 100% confident that every area of that platen is getting the complete accurate temperature of heat applied. It wouldn't be 120 here and 160 here. The whole thing would be what you used to, which in our case today was 145. So if your press has cold spots, for example, you might find that one section of the transfer fuses better than the other because this part of the press was hotter than this part, which is where a lot of people have issues. Is there anything else from like a press specific point of view? It is necessary. It's like the clam and the heating, isn't it, that gets most people, which again is something that Ultronics provides without even thinking about it. You just order the press, pull it out of the box, turn it on, and it does it all for you. You don't even have to worry about any of that, which is why it's so brilliant. So I think that's everything in terms of the application. We just want to really reiterate these transfers will outlast the garment. They will last 60 plus washes. They are really, really soft, thin finish. We're very, very proud to offer our UK customers this transfer because it is definitely the UK's leading. And yeah, providing they're applied correctly, being the biggest part of that sentence, they will outlast the garment and keep your customers happy. So just one more thing on application. We've had people before say, for example, with pressure or with different presses. Handheld presses has been the biggest one I've found in the comments as well. People, obviously with handheld presses, you can't regulate the pressure. And on some clam presses, you can't regulate the pressure like you can on Ultronics, but we've seen it before with, like I say, cheaper import presses, you can't regulate the settings. And people will come to us and say, oh, but it went down okay, it looks fine. And we say, oh, it will for like maybe a week or a few days, but it's not necessarily how you ship the product to the customer. It's how the product's going to look in 60 washes when the customer's been wearing it over and over again and the transfer all starts to come off. They won't necessarily they might not come back to you and say, look, this is the issue. They might just go, oh, well, that product was no good, I won't be ordering from them again, which isn't what we want. So we want to make sure that you really understand the application settings are so important to get them right, because it could look fine when it goes out the door, but there might be issues later on down the road. So we're just trying to eliminate all of that. And it's so simple too as well. So definitely make sure your application settings are right before you produce and ship products to customers, basically. I think that's everything I wanted to cover today.
I was just going to reiterate your point from the beginning, Molly, about how we're here for you to help. I know a lot of you are going to have a busy 4 or 5 days of ordering, but our turnaround time is not going to be affected in the slightest. We've got capacity available to make sure that our 2-day turnaround is unaffected, and you'll be able to fulfill all those orders next week if you order on time.
Yeah. Exactly. So like Andy said, 2 days, don't be afraid. We're still going to have transfers turned around. Our last order day before Christmas will be posted on our socials in the next few days. So if you're ordering presses and vinyl, it will be, I think it's the 22nd or 23rd, and then transfers a couple of days before that. But keep an eye on our socials and make sure you're on our email list to get that information. We have been given the dates. We just need to send them out to everyone. And then one more thing actually that I want to mention when it comes to handling last minute orders is make sure that when you send the product to the customer, you reiterate that it can't be washed for 24 to 48 hours. So say, for example, you fuse this because we're talking in a normal situation, it wouldn't be an issue because you'd probably print it and have it either sitting in your warehouse for a couple of days or it would take a couple of days to ship to the customer. But because we're working on a quick timescale here, I'm under the impression that you would get the order on one day, place your transfer order on that same day, in a couple of days, print the product and ship it out that day as well. Now, these transfers will last 60 plus washes, but we do give you a 24 to 48 hour time frame where you shouldn't wash the garment, because what happens is when we heat apply the transfer to the actual t-shirt, there's an adhesive on the back, which is what the heat releases to have it apply to the garment. That needs to properly bond and set to the t-shirt. So like that is on there now and that is not coming off. But if I was to throw that into the washing machine at, I don't know, 120, 30 degrees, whatever you wash your garments at, that might sort of interfere with the bonding process, and that's when you would also get problems. So just make sure that if you are sending them to your customers, they understand that from the second you've pressed and peeled that garment, 24 to 48 hours before they wash it. So I mean, this might not be an issue for most of you because by the time you send the product out, it gets to the customer, they wear it and wash it. It will have been a few days anyway, but we just want to let you all know because that's obviously quite a big one when we're working with a short time frame as well. Okay, I think that is everything I wanted to cover. Thank you very much to everyone for joining us today, for spending your Friday lunch with us. Do we have any final questions before we wrap up?
No, that's it for question wise.
Perfect. I just want to remind everybody that on Wednesday, the 7th of December, we are having...
Sorry, Molly. I think you said 120 degrees on the washing. You meant 20 to 30, I assume.
Yes, sorry. 120 degrees is what you apply UltraColour at. You can tell what I do every day, can't you? Yes, so Wednesday, the 7th of December, we're having our last in-person event of the year. We've teamed up with GraphTech to bring you the 2022 Vinyl Summit. We're hosting it here at the Innovation Centre. It's going to be a great day. And tickets are free for this event as well. So if you missed out on coming to the Bella Canvas event, or you haven't visited the Innovation Centre yet, or you want to learn a bit more about vinyl, we're going to have all of the presses on display. There's going to be Q&A, there's going to be talks, we're going to be doing videos, everything. It's going to be such a good day. Make sure you get your ticket for that and come along. Wednesday, the 7th of December, link is in the description for tickets. Thank you, Andy. And we are also going live pretty much every Friday up until the last week of Christmas. Our last working day is the 23rd of December, which is a Friday, but I don't think we're doing a live on that day. I think it'll be the day before. Yeah, so make sure you're subscribed on YouTube, following our social channels and signed up to our email list. We do have a couple of giveaways going on in December as well, which will be announced on our social pages. And we have a very exciting surprise going live on the 1st of December, which I'm not going to tell you about because we're saving it for the actual day, but it's going to be a good one. So make sure you tune in for that. But yeah, I think that's everything. So we're going to go. Got a podcast to film this afternoon, so we're going to go and set up for that. But yeah, hope everyone has a fantastic day.